Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Yashodanandana Bhajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Bhajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Varujikacharya Ashtotar to the Sri Srimad, His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Varujikacharya Ashtotar to the Sri Srimad, His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Okay. So we're going to do the last verse in chapter 5 again, and then we'll go into chapter 6. 529 on page 255. 255. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Page 255. On this 11th day of March 2024 in San Diego, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And we are in chapter 5, Karma Yoga, Action and Krishna Consciousness, text 29, which we did last Wednesday, but we're going to do it again tonight. Such an important verse. Bhoktaram yagyatapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram suridam sarvabhutanam gyatva mam shantim richati bhoktaram yagyatapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram sudidam sarvabhutanam gyatva mang shantim richati bhoktaram yagyatapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram sudidam sarvabhutanam gyatva mang shantim richati bhoktaram yagyatapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram suridam sarvabhutanam gyatva mam shantim richati. Go ahead, Jay. Bhoktaram yagyatapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram suridam sarvabhutanam gyatva mam shantim richati. Bhoktaram yagyatapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram suridam sarvabhutanam gyatva mam shantim richati. Have you been practicing on the side, Nelson? Sounded pretty professional. Word by word, I'll read them. Bhoktaram, the beneficiary, yajna of sacrifices, tapasam, and penances and austerities, sarvaloka, of all planets and the demigods thereof. Maha Ishwaram, the Supreme Lord. Suridham, the benefactor. Sarva, of all. Bhutanam, the living entities. Gyatva, thus knowing. Mam, me, Lord Krishna. Shantim, relief from material pangs. Richati, one achieves. Translation. A person in full consciousness of me, knowing me to be the ultimate beneficiary of all sacrifices and austerities, the Supreme Lord of all planets and demigods, and the benefactor and well-wisher of all living entities, attains peace from the pangs of material miseries. Purport. The conditioned souls within the clutches of the illusory energy are all anxious to attain peace in the material world. But they do not know the formula for peace, which is explained in this part of the Bhagavad Gita. The greatest peace formula is simply this. Lord Krishna is the beneficiary in all human activities. Men should offer everything to the transcendental service of the Lord, because He is the proprietor of all planets and the demigods thereon. No one is greater than He. He is greater than the greatest of the demigods, Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma. In the Vedas, Shvetashvatar Upanishad 6.7, the Supreme Lord is described as Tamishwaranam Paramam Maheshwaram. Under the spell of illusion, living entities are trying to be lords of all they survey, but actually they are dominated by the material energy of the Lord. The Lord is the master of material nature, and the conditioned souls are under the stringent rules of material nature. Unless one understands these bare facts, it is not possible to achieve peace in the world, either individually or collectively. This is the sense of Krishna consciousness. Lord Krishna is the supreme predominator, and all living entities, including the great demigods, are His subordinates. One can attain perfect peace only in complete Krishna consciousness. The fifth chapter is a practical explanation of Krishna consciousness, generally known as karma yoga. The question of mental speculation as to how karma yoga can give liberation is answered herewith. To work in Krishna consciousness is to work with the complete knowledge of the Lord as the predominator. Such work is not different from transcendental knowledge. Direct Krishna consciousness is bhakti yoga, and Dhyāna-yoga is a path leading to bhakti yoga. Krishna consciousness means to work in full knowledge of one's relationship with the Supreme Absolute. And the perfection of this consciousness is full knowledge of Krishna, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead. A pure soul is the eternal servant of God as his fragmental part and parcel. He comes into contact with Maya, or illusion, due to the desire to lord it over Maya, and that is the cause of his many sufferings. As long as he is in contact with matter, he has to execute work in terms of material necessities. Krishna consciousness, however, brings one into spiritual life even while one is within the jurisdiction of matter. For it is an arousing of spiritual existence by practice in the material world. The more one is advanced, the more he is freed from the clutches of matter. The Lord is not partial toward anyone. Everything depends on one's practical performance of duties in Krishna consciousness, which, in every respect, helps one control the senses and conquer the influence of desire and anger. And one who stands fast in Krishna consciousness, controlling the above-mentioned passions, remains factually in the transcendental stage, or Brahma Nirvana. The Eightfold Yoga mysticism is automatically practiced in Krishna consciousness because the ultimate purpose is served. There is a gradual process of devotion in the practice of yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, and samadhi. But these only preface perfection by devotional service, which alone can award peace to the human being. It is the highest perfection of life. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports to the 5th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavad Gita in the matter of karma yoga, or action in Krishna consciousness. Om jnana timirandasya jnanandjana shalakaya chakshur unmilitam mena tasmai shri gurave namaha. I was born in the darkest of ignorance, but my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance unto him and to all members of Sri Parampara. So I thought we'd read this one again because it's such an important verse, the peace formula. Now if we hearken back to the 2nd chapter, we'll find that it ends. There's quite a bit of talk in that 2nd chapter about peace also. So let's still go to the end of the 2nd chapter, 271, second to last verse actually. Yeah. Vihaya kama niksarvam pumangs chadadi nikspraha. Nirmamona dahankara sashanti madagachiti. Notice that word shanti. Shanti means peace. A person who has given up all desires for sense gratification, who lives free from desires, material desires, who has given up all sense of proprietorship and is devoid of false ego, he alone can attain real peace. Now, let's compare this verse to the text 29, because it's the same book, it's the same speaker, and he's talking about peace, so they should complement each other. So the first thing, vihaya kaman, giving up all selfish desires. Kaman is a general word that means any kind of selfish desire, and it generally means a very strong desire. Of course, it also means lust, Western lust, which means strong sex desire, but it can mean any strong desire. So you're giving all those up, and you emphasize it, pumang chadadi nikspra, living free of desires, therefore he's desireless. And then he has these two words, nirmamo and nirahankara. Now we've heard it a lot lately in the morning class, or maybe it's the class I'm listening to at home. I'm probably speaking the 5th canto, but anyway. But it's the same idea. Nirmamo means nothing is mine. Nothing is mine. You understand everything belongs to Krishna, including ourselves, our own bodies. That's why you have this name of Krishna, Rishikesha. Rishikesha is a combination of two words, Rishika and Isha. Rishika is a word that means senses, and Isha means controller. So ideally, the ideal life in the spiritual world is that you have your own form, but all of the functions of your senses, your knowledge acquiring senses called Jnanendriya, which is commonly what we call senses, your eyes, ears, nose, sense of touch, sense of taste, as well as your active senses, meaning your hands, your feet, your voice, and reproduction and excretion. So these are the 10 senses. And all of them are linked with Krishna. Certainly with your hands, we know we do so many services for Krishna, obviously. But just when we look at the deity, that's service with the eyes. And especially if we look with knowledge. This is not just a statue, this is Krishna. He's smiling at us. He's mercifully come before us so that we can see him with our present eyes. He's always present, but we can't see him because we don't have developed spiritual vision. In Brahma Samhita, Lord Brahma says, those who are fully realized, they always see that beautiful Shyama Sundar form in their heart. How? With eyes of love, premanjana, eyes that have been anointed with this salve of prema. Premanjana tudita bhakti vilochanena. Bhakti vilochanena means the eyes, of bhakti. Yakshama sundaram achindugana sarupam. You see in the heart that beautiful form of Shyama Sundar. And this is a very high state of consciousness. You're always remembering Krishna because you're not willfully forgetting him. The only way we can try to enjoy separately is if we forget Krishna. Otherwise, it would be too impossible. So Krishna lets us forget him. That's what Maya is all about. You want to forget Krishna? Okay, you forget Krishna, now you can try your best to enjoy in this world. And you fail, because you die or someone eats you. That's the world. And so then you take another birth, and you can go down, down, down in the species. You don't need human consciousness in order to eat, sleep, mate, and defend. So that's what this verse is saying. Puma chadadi nispa nirmamo narahankara. And nirahankara means free of false ego. The false ego is the sense of separatism. I am this body, and the things in relation to this body are mine. They're meant for my pleasure. That's the underlying assumption of everyone in the material world. I'm this body. And even as a young child, you might think, I'm a little child, and here's my parents. I'm constitutionally a little child, and they're my parents. But though then things change, and you get to be older, and you're an adolescent, then you identify with that body. Oh, I'm an adolescent, and these are my parents. Well, I don't always have to do what they say, So you grow up, your mind changes, your body changes, but you're the same person. That's at the beginning of the Gita. Remember, Dehinosmin. So we need to develop our real ego, acting with the same senses, but acting under the intelligence that's been purified by hearing or reading this science. That's what bhakti is all about. It's changing one's whole orientation of who you are, what you should strive for, what you should be interested in, And so that's why extensive, hearing and reading is so important, because we've got all of these old ideas and karma that's still like boiling around in our consciousness. And we need to, those are called anarthas, things that we don't want. So Krishna promises, you just keep hearing and chanting about me, especially Hare Krishna mantra, and from within I will cleanse away all of these anarthas. This is right there in the 2nd chapter, 1st canto. Shrinvatam, Swakata Krishna. Shrinvatam means hearing. Swakata means his own kata about Krishna. He's in the heart. He understands when we're hearing about him. It's super soul. So Krishna, Punya Shavana Kirtana. Welcome. Actually we're reviewing page 135, the second to last verse in the 2nd chapter, which relates to the last verse in the 5th chapter, which is what we're on. It's about peace. How can you really have peace? You can't have peace as long as your mind is always boiling over with different unfulfilled desires and all of those, grudges that you're holding about some against people who stop you from fulfilling your desires, or whatever. In other words, there's negative and positive. The attachments and the aversions. Attachment and aversion. In the 2nd chapter, there's several verses here where Prabhupada uses attachment and detachment. Detachment as the opposite of attachment. But that's not what he's talking about. He's talking about aversion. Icha, dvesha. Dvesha means hate, like and hate, or aversion. The two sides of the same coin. The things, your fear of things and your disgust of things are just as binding as your attachment to things. So we need to be, that's where tolerance comes in. Is that even though, it's unpleasant to my senses, this is just a little sample of what I was supposed to get. This is a very important verse spoken by Brahma in his prayers to Krishna in the 14th chapter, 10th canto. Tatte nukampam susamikshmano bhunjana evatmakritam vipakam. Ridin vag vapubhir vidadan namaste jivete yo mukti bade sadaya bhak. This is a verse that Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he couldn't stand to hear the word mukti anymore. He was a converted Mayavadi, and for Mayavadis, the mukti means merging into the absolute. So that's anathema for devotees. That's something they hate. They're averse to that. They can be. Because it means there's no bhakti. For bhakti, you have to have Bhagavan and the bhakta and the process of bhakti. There's none of that in Brahman. There's no Bhagavan, it's just Brahman. There's no form, qualities, pastimes, nothing. And there's no bhakta. You don't have a form either. All you've got is your pure consciousness. So what's the advantage? No more death, no more birth, no more old age, no more diseases. I've got it made, right? But it gets boring because we are not intrinsically just white light. We're persons, and we have our spiritual senses, and they're crying out to be fulfilled in service to Krishna. Then we can be happy forever in that spiritual body. And we enjoy the same, no birth, no death, no old age, disease, but so much more. That's just the, inducement. So, but peace, how can you be peaceful in this material world? And so here's the formula at the end of chapter 2, second to last verse. Vihaya kamanyak sarvam. So giving up all of these material desires. And remember, at the end of chapter 3, there was this important section on how kama is the all-devouring sinful enemy of this world. That's your real enemy. Is this unfulfilled material desires that you've developed over time and that are constantly impinging on you. In other words, if you don't have Krishna to serve, then you're going to be serving the senses and the mind. And when something pleasurable comes along, you'll have a desire to engage in it and enjoy pleasure there. And that draws us life after life after life. Because, as time goes on, things that forgive me, these verses, that they're just like stuck in my brain, is so important. Prahlad's prayers, yasmat priya priya yoga yoga janma shokagnina. Shokagnina means the fire of lamentation. So Prahlad, taking the position, as they often do, you'll find in the songs of Bhaktivinoda Narottam, that they take the role of a conditioned soul. And they'll be calling out to Krishna, please engage me in your service, whatever. But so what they're teaching us. So Prahlad is giving this analysis also. And he's taking the role. He says, I've been burning in this fire of lamentation, not just in the human body, but in all different bodies. And it's a simple origin. It's intuitive. Once you hear it, you say, yeah, that's what material life is all about. So the things that are priya, that are dear to us, our body, our health, our mother, father, children, wife, husband, these things become dear, become sources of great pleasure, material pleasure. But over time, inevitably they're taken away from you. Certainly your health gets taken away, your youth gets taken away just by time. But also, the children get taken away. Maybe not physically; they may not die. That's a horrible experience, up for them and you. But they grow up and go away, and they may not even call you. In other words, the relationship is broken, and that's heartbreaking, right? The empty nest syndrome, and all kinds of things. The foods that you like to eat, you can't eat it anymore. Your body can't take them anymore. A million different things. So that's the nature of material attachments. Is that they're sources of what he calls it, the fire of lamentation. The things that are dear. You get cheated out of money, a million different things. They get taken away. And the things that are abhorrent to you are forced upon you. So it's yasmat priya apriya. This happens in the Sanskrit where they'll make a list, and then there's another line, and each element in the second line corresponds to the thing in the list. You know what I'm saying? It's like, so here, yasmat priya priya yoga sa yoga janma shoka agnina. So you start from the end. Agnina, it's a fire of shoka, lamentation. So it's yasmat, means it's caused by these things. Priya is, the things dear are viyoga, separated from you. Okay? And the things that are apriya, abhorrent, are forced upon you. Who knows? The pandemic, did anyone pray for that to happen? They pray that it won't strike me. Somehow I won't get it. I'll hide away. I'll wear this mask. I'll get a shot. And it won't happen to me. Pray God, oh God. But sometimes it happens anyway. So that's apriya samyoga. The things that are abhorrent are forced upon you, and the things that are dear are taken from you. So now we have a remedy for that. We try to have remedies for that. It's called duk aushadam. Aushadam means a remedy. It often means a medical thing, aushadi. But here it means any kind of remedy to hold on to the dear things and ward off the unpleasant things. That's what material life is all about. So that's duk aushadam. But then he says, duk aushadam tadapi dukkam. The aushadi itself becomes a source of more misery. All right. Early 20th century, that's where the cars started to get invented, right? The combustion engine. And one of the things that was a big problem, you had these burgeoning cities, like I read about Chicago, and all I had for transportation was horses pulling carts here and there, carriages. You can imagine the mess, right? All those hundreds, thousands of horses going up the street. What a big mess, they're always making it. Who's cleaning it up? So then the cars came, then no more, horses, man. I'll put them out in the country, Now we can tool around in our Model T Fords, right? We solved the problem. So now you fast forward 100 years. Everybody's got a car, billions of cars pouring out the greenhouse gases. It's a crisis, And anyway, so duk aushadam has become the source of more misery. That's the nature of material life. You think you got it fixed, but more problems come. And then the root of the whole thing, 3 little syllables, atadiyaham, 4 or 5 syllables. And the root is, I'm thinking of something I'm not. We're identifying with the body, with the senses, with the material mind. And on that basis, we try to get some pleasure, but it causes more pain than we're in material life. So what's the solution? He doesn't leave us hanging. 4th line, he's speaking to Lord Nrsingadev. Bhuman, oh great Lord. Bhuman means oh great one. Bhuman brahmami vadame devadasya yogam. Brahmami, he identifies himself as wandering. I'm wandering amongst all these species and all this, different births. Bhuman brahmami vadame devadasya yogam. Please speak to me, teach me your dasya yoga, which is equivalent to bhakti yoga. It's the yoga of service, So Prahlad, taking this role, of course, he's already liberated. But he's teaching us how to pray and how to analyze our situation. So why does this give peace? Because if you really don't think you possess everything belongs to Krishna, and you're not in your ahankar, you're actually in your real ego, you understand who you are, then you're understanding, Krishna's in control, and whatever I can do to serve him to my greatest capacity, he'll be pleased with that. And in this way, you gradually get rid of all other desires, and you're on your way back to Godhead. When you leave your body in that mentality, that's, the Vaikuntha airplanes come and pick you up or whatever, Because that's what's keeping you here, is these false desires and this misidentification, all these things. So then you can be peaceful. Now you can see it's really equivalent to what we just read in the end of the 5th chapter. Bhoktaram yagatapasam. Understanding that Krishna is the real enjoyer of all sacrifice and austerities. Now sacrifice and austerities can be understood very broadly to mean anything that you do, you struggle in this world to maintain body and soul together, and of course you can undergo yajna specifically for pleasing Krishna, like the Sankirtan yajna, And any tapasya, life is full of tapasya. I like to point out, we get up early in the morning, we come to the temple by 4:30, for Mangalarti, but people are getting on the road at 4 o'clock, trying to get to work. you know. And in LA, the traffic jams, it's such a, you know, so they're performing austerity too. But theirs is material austerity. It's not divine tapasya. You know, Rishabdev says, oh sons, don't try to enjoy like the hogs. You know, don't struggle for that. That's that end. Rather, tapo divyam, you perform divine austerity, not like Hiranyakashipu for some demonic, but the austerity of following bhakti yoga. You know, and in this age especially, the austerity is minor compared to it, you know, previous ages. So tapo divyam, O sons, putraka, by which yena sattvam shuddhyet, you'll purify your whole existence. The whole problem we have is that our senses, our mind, has been covered by the impurities due to lusty activities, due to association with the modes of nature. So that purification needs to take place by bhakti yoga. And what's the very first words of the Shikshastika? You know. Cheto? Yeah, that's about purification. Cheto is your consciousness, your mind compared to a mirror, right? Darpana. I thought it was so fascinating. You know, Sanskrit's so great. Darpana is a mirror, and what's the word for vanity? Darpa. Do you think there's a relationship? Darpa. So Sheto Darpana Marjanam. It's cleansing. Marjanam is to cleanse. So by the Sankirtan, especially congregational chanting, it's all about, you know, Sankirtan. The first thing that happens is your consciousness is cleansed. And if you really do it right and for long enough, that gives you liberation. The first line is all about liberation. Bhava Mahadav Agni Nirvapanam. What is Bhava Mahadav? Agni is fire. You ever notice? Agni, ignition, you know? Ignition is an English word, right? Igneous. So many words like that. So, Mahadavagni means a huge forest fire of bhava, birth, old age, disease, and death, birth, old age, disease, and death, samsara. It's compared to a fire. Same thing in the morning when we chant. Samsara dava nadalita loka. All the people are suffering in this fire of material life, birth and, you know. Samsara davan loka tranaya. But the spiritual master is delivering us from that fire. How? By giving us Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan movement, right? And that, I don't know if you ever analyzed that prayer. It's so wonderful. So he's the first, you know, verse is the essential information about the spiritual master. He's come, you know, not due to anything we're doing, just out of his mercy. He's sent by Krishna to rain down this rain of mercy by which we can extinguish this blazing fire of samsara. And therefore we should, you know, offer respects 3 times a day. We should feel gratitude. That's the main thing we should feel, you know, towards Srila Prabhupada. I think one of the main ideas, you know, is gratitude for taking undergoing so many austerities in order to give us Krishna consciousness as it is. So how does he do that? Well, he gives by giving us the holy name. That's the second verse. Mahaprabhu Kirtan and Nritya Gita. He himself is enjoying chanting and dancing in Mahaprabhu's kirtan, and he's experiencing these symptoms, right? Kirtan and Nritya Gita, Bhadittamada, and playing musical instruments. You know, the gong. He's got the gong over there and plays the drum. So that's the thing. And then the other part of it is, of course, for regulation and you know, for avoiding bad association, you need an ashram, you need a temple, and that's the third verse. Shri Vigraharadana Nityanana Shingara Tanmandira Marjanado. So he himself is showing by example how to worship the deity, and Prabhupada did that. And he's also engaging his devotees, disciples, in doing that. That's part of that verse. And then the fourth verse, well, what happens? You've got the kirtan, you've got the temple, you've got the deities, prasadam, fourth verse, right? Such an important part of it. Chaturvadashi Bhagavad Prasad. So he's enjoying, not honoring the prasadam, or he does that, but he's really enjoying when he sees the devotees, you know, fully satisfied taking prasadam. So then you switch gears, then it's all his internal, you know, how he's always relishing Radha and Krishna's pastimes at every moment, and he's expert at helping them in enjoying their pet in the kunjiyuno ratikeli siddha yayali yuktir apekshaniya. So this is generally in our line, all the great acharyas are like manjaris or sakis, assistants to the gopis and helping Christians, And then comes the, shocking verse, Sakshad Harit Vena Samasta Shastra. All the Shastras say that the spiritual master is directly a God, Hari. But it's Hari Tvena. It means he has the quality of the Lord, and he should be honored like the Lord, not that he's God, And then the last verse, which is so important to pronounce correctly, Yasya prasadat bhagavat prasado. By the spiritual master's mercy, one gets the mercy of the Lord, the grace of the Lord. And then if you're careless, it's Yasya prasadat bhagavat prasado, Yasya prasadan nagati katopi. No, second line, Yasya prasadan. That long A makes all the difference. It's the difference between successful and unsuccessful. If you forget the it kind of changes the meaning, man. So listen for it. I think I've got everyone into it here. Yasya prasada. Without his mercy, or with a lack of mercy, we have no hope. We cannot really approach Krishna. Therefore, we should honor him 3 times a day and always remember. So that's what we're doing. By reading the Bhagavad Gita here, this is very pleasing to Prabhupada. We're getting his association here. So, back to the text 29 in chapter 5, and then we'll try to at least do one verse in the next chapter. So Bhoktaram Yagita Pasam, so he's the beneficiary. When we feel he's the beneficiary, we're still ready to undergo the tapasya and perform the sacrifices for his pleasure. That's bhakti. And he's the master of all the 3 worlds. But he's not, remote. In one sense he's remote, but he's very intimate as well. Suridam, this word suridam is so important. Surit means that you're ever well-wisher. It's like the most intimate friend, someone who never gives up on you, who always has your best interest at heart, And that's important because sometimes things happen in our lives that are shocking, some disease or whatever, And they say, why, Krishna? I'm serving you so as much as I can, and still I come down with this disease, No, that's the wrong attitude. Again, back to this verse by Brahma, tattenu kampam susimikshimano, that whatever happens in our life, good or bad, we should see it as Krishna's mercy. Now, how can a bad thing be seen as Krishna? Well, it could have been much worse, But instead of losing my hand, I just got a serious cut on my finger, like that. And then you say, oh, Krishna, you're so kind, You're just minimizing my reaction. I'm sure I must have done something really bad. And then when good things happen, and you come into a little inheritance or something, oh, thank you. You're giving me a chance to serve you better. So in both cases, it's very positive toward Krishna, and you maintain your faith. And if you can do that, it says, then you're sure to go back to Godhead. Because what can phase you? Life in this world is a mixture of bad, things that cause you anger or fear or suffering, and things that are very positive. And so either way, you see it as Krishna's mercy. It's an important factor. So understand Suridam Sarva, that he's always our well-wishing friend. And even when things bad happen, things that we materially bad, we can say, okay, this is an impetus to surrender even more to Krishna. And that, if I can try to do service even in this condition, then I know that I'll get more mercy from Krishna. So, Gatva, one who understands these things, Prabhupada called this the peace formula in the purport. That Krishna is the proper enjoyer of all my efforts, he's the master of the whole universe, and he's my best friend, a wishing friend in my heart. Then one can attain real peace in this world, only that way. All right, should we go on? Should we launch into chapter 6? It's a bit of a change of pace here, but it's important. There's important instructions here, but one of the really important instructions is don't try to do the Eightfold Yoga system. But you'll get all the benefits of that and more by practicing Bhakti Yoga. And text 20-21, it describes Samadhi, and So let's do text 1. We'll start off. Shri Bhagavana Vacha Anashita Karma Palam Karyam Karma Karoti Yaha Sannyāsī cha yogī cha Nadiragni Nachakriyaha. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, one who is unattached to the fruits of his work and who works as he is obligated is in the renounced order of life, and he is the true mystic, not he who lights no fire and performs no duty. Purport. In this chapter, the Lord explains that the process of the Eightfold Yoga system is a means to control the mind and the senses. However, this is very difficult for people in general to perform, especially in the age of Kali. Although the Eightfold Yoga system is recommended in this chapter, the Lord emphasizes that the process of karma yoga, or acting in Krishna consciousness, is better. Everyone acts in this world to maintain his family and their paraphernalia, but no one is working without some self-interest, some personal gratification, be it concentrated or extended. The criterion of perfection is to act in Krishna consciousness, and not with a view to enjoying the fruits of work. To act in Krishna consciousness is the duty of every living entity, because all are constitutionally parts and parcels of the Supreme. The parts of the body work for the satisfaction of the whole body. The limbs of the body do not act for self-satisfaction, but for the satisfaction of the complete whole. Similarly, the living entity who acts for satisfaction of the Supreme Whole, and not for personal satisfaction, is the perfect sannyāsī, the perfect yogi. The sannyāsīs sometimes artificially think that they have become liberated from all material duties, and therefore they cease to perform Agnihotra yajnas, fire sacrifices. But actually they are self-interested because their goal is to become one with the impersonal Brahman. Such a desire is greater than any material desire, but it is not without self-interest. Similarly, the mystic yogi who practices the yoga system with half-open eyes, ceasing all material activities, desires some satisfaction for his personal self. But a person acting in Krishna consciousness works for the satisfaction of the whole, without self-interest. A Krishna conscious person has no desire for self-satisfaction. His criterion of success is the satisfaction of Krishna, and thus he is the perfect sannyāsī or perfect yogi. Lord Chaitanya, the highest perfectional symbol of renunciation, prays in this way. Nadanang najanang nasundarim kavitam va jagadisha kamaye mama janmani janmanishware bhavatad bhaktadahayutuki tvayi. O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor to enjoy beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. What I want only is the causeless mercy of your devotional service in my life, birth after birth. So this is a famous prayer in the Shikshastika. And he's listing all those things that are not his motive, that are often the motives in material activity or even in so-called spiritual activity. Even the desire for personal liberation is ultimately not the spiritual. And Prahlad, he emphasizes this in his prayers to Lord Nrsimhadev, the famous verse, where he says, Prayena deva munayo swavamukti kama. Notice that phrase, swa vimukti kama. My own, swa means my own, their own mukti. Kama, it's a lusty desire. It's a material desire ultimately. You know, if I get diseased and I want to get well, okay, there's nothing wrong in that, but it's a material desire. You know, you want to be healthy again so you can enjoy. Not that, you know, this is just materialist thinking. So similarly, the biggest disease, you know, everyone, those who understand a little bit about Vedic wisdom, is birth, old age, disease, and death. It's the being in the material world and having to face these things. That is the real problem. Like, you know, there's a huge, you know, everyone knows that there's a huge health system, you know, hospitals and drug, you know, and all that system, billions and even trillions of dollars worth, all to try to help you to regain your health, and sometimes a little bit to hold on to it. You know what I mean? But how can you? You know, ultimately the body is fallible. I mean, it falls, and eventually something breaks, and you know, boom, you're dead. You know, and then but you come around again. You know, to enjoy birth and then disease. Disease may not wait for the old age, so it's birth, disease, old age, death. So that's our problem. Haribol. So to get free of that is a great, thing to strive for. But it's ultimately in the same level as any other material desire. And that's why at the beginning of the Bhagavatam, second verse of the whole 18,000, that's we call it the beginning, Dharma projit kaitavo tra. Tra means here, and it's describing what's in the Bhagavatam. That second verse is all about the Bhagavatam itself. The first verse is all about the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the subject of the book. Okay. So, Dharma projit kaitavo tra. Here, that we're kicking out all cheating dharmas, cheating religions. Well, what's a cheating religion? It's one that simply, if dharma is simply geared toward getting money in order to enjoy sense gratification, then it's cheating. It's cheating the soul. Dharma, artha, kama. Right? These are the four goals, Vedic goals. Dharma, artha, kama, moksha. The fourth one is moksha. But if it's impersonal liberation, if it's just your own freedom, so Prahlad says, prayena deva muniyo, generally these people who are wise, who know the Vedic literatures, and prayena deva muniyo, swavamukti kama. They're lusty after their own mukti. And to heck with everyone else, I'm getting out of the city, right? It's too distracting. Let me go off to the Himalayas or some quiet place in Colorado or whatever. And maunam, they practice silence. They don't talk. Maunam. Charanti vijane, they go where there's no people. Vijane, napararta nishta, they're not at all determined to help others. They say this is totally material. But so that's the first two lines of that verse. Svavamukti kama, maunam charanti vijane napararta nishta. Night, but I can't do that. Naitan vihaya kripana, I can't give up these fools and rascals, these kripanas. Naitam vihaya kripana vivamuksha eko, simply wanting my own liberation. Why? Naitad vihaya kripana vivamuksha eko nanyam charatsi sharanam brahmato anupashe. Because I don't see anyone but you who can help them, Lord. And I have to give them you. In other words, I have to be a preacher. The last two, this and the previous verse, which I won't go into, are like the creed for the preachers. Ideally, you become so advanced in Krishna consciousness that you yourself are feeling blissful at all times. That was Prabhupada. He was there in Radha Damodar, right there with Rupa Goswami's, samadhi. But he couldn't be fully blissful because he had this order from his spiritual master to go and try to help those who've never even heard of Krishna in the West. Take the Krishna consciousness to fulfill Lord Chaitanya's prediction that Hare Krishna will be sounded in every town and village on the earth, not in India, on the earth. Prithividi means on the earth. So Prabhupada, in his old age, 60 or 69, wasn't in the best of health. He undertook to go on that boat and do what he did, incredible saga, which should all deepen our appreciation for him and our gratitude for taking that trouble. Otherwise, we wouldn't be sitting here. There's no chance in a million years that there would be a temple right here. But because he had sincere disciples, and he was so, he was able to. So it's manifest the treasure. He's left his treasures in his books that we can always associate. So nadanang the sundarim, that we. I don't want. Well, this is the usual thing to practice yoga or any material activity. I don't want wealth, I don't want followers, I don't want sundarim, beautiful women, kavitam. Now Bhaktivinoda Thakur sees these two words together, that sundarim is an adjective, beautiful poetry ability. In other words, able to write wonderfully or have high erudition, but completely material. That's another, desire. Jagadisha Kami, O Lord of the universe, I don't want these things. And then by saying Mama Janmani Janmanishwari, he also says that he doesn't want liberation. Because if it's birth after birth, so you want something birth after birth, then you don't want liberation, right? That's not what you're asking for. So what does he want? Bhakti na hoitiki tvahi. That same old ahoitiki bhakti that we hear in the second chapter. Ahoitiki apratayata. Uninterrupted and unmotivated devotion unto you. That's what I'm praying for, you see? And that's what we should pray for. because then we won't get diverted into the whole other part of the Vedas, the karma kanda. Oh, if I want a beautiful wife, I can worship Usha. If I want real health, I'll do the sun worship. There's a whole list. There's a whole shopping list. Beginning of the second canto. If you want this, you want strong senses, worship Indra. And it goes on like that. I forget. So, but then at the end it says akama sarva kamova moksha kama hudadadi. Moksha kama, again you have the lust after the liberation. Udadadi, those who are more broad-minded, intelligent, tivrena bhakti yogena yajeta purusham param. You should worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead, none of these demigods. If you're free of material desire, or you want all kinds of material things, and sarva kama, or you want moksha, those who are truly wise, udaradi, tivrena bhakti, don't just, and not superficially, but intensely worship the Supreme Person, of bhakti yoga, yajeta purusham param. And in the purport to that verse, this Prabhupada wrote this in India, this is the second canto, he gives a wonderful little phrase from one of Jiva Goswami's Sandarbhas, in which he summarizes the essence of devotional service, of pure devotional service. Bhajaniya padama purusha sukha matra swasukatvam. So bhajaniya means the worshipable, padama purusha, Supreme Person, that's Krishna. Bhajaniya padama. Sukha, his happiness, matra, only, solely, matra swasukatvam. Your own sukha, your own happiness. Taking your own happiness only and solely in the happiness of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And that's what pure devotion is. Anya bilasha dashunyam, it's the same idea. So how can you get your happiness from someone else's happiness? Because it's God, because it's Krishna, we're part and parcel of Him. He's anandamaya abhyasad, He's always blissful. But still, we can participate in that bliss and give Him happiness, chant His holy name, do our services, and cultivate Krishna. And that gives Him pleasure. And because it does, and we're aware of that, we also experience transcendental pleasure. And that's why in the spiritual world, there's no degradation, there's no time. There's no passage of time. Everything is the eternal present. That's our constitutional position, to be taking our pleasure in the service of the Lord. Just like a mother with a 6-week-old baby takes her pleasure in the peace and happiness and the pleasure of her little baby. If he's crying and whining, then she's wondering, what's happening, my dear one? She thinks, you want to suck the breast? So that's the closest thing we have, but it's still material. So that's what Krishna consciousness means. And because Krishna's all attractive, he can draw everyone's love, and because He's God, He can relate personally to infinite number of souls. So you can feel He's your own personal friend, even though you know that He's friends with everyone else. How many friends, they have the illusion on Facebook you have so many friends, but it's ridiculous. Oh, I got 1,000. Instagram, I have 200 million followers or something. Right? What does it mean? Nothing. So anyway, we'll continue. So this introducing this Ashtanga Yoga, and there are and the sannyāsī, is included in it, and there are important instructions here. But ultimately, we shouldn't try that process. It's not really feasible in this age. And Arjun, he says, I can't do it. Chanchalam himana Krishna. The mind is too. It's like a raging wind. I can't stop the wind. So we'll see. In the end, Krishna says, that's okay. You just yoginama visar. Of all the yogis, those with great faith who are always worshiping me, remembering me in love, they're the best of all. So Arjun, you can almost hear a sigh of relief. Whoa, because that's where Arjun is at. He's already an intimate friend. And then you launch in the 7th chapter, and the first verse, I won't get into it now. He'll teach how one can naturally and easily develop your mind's attraction for me, which is after all, what yoga is all about. But it's artificial, and it's not feasible in this age. But by bhakti yoga, it's feasible. All right, we have time for 1/2 a poem, or a short one. So here we go. All right. Here, this is from Shabdev, I condensed it a little bit. Famous verse. Don't waste this precious human life, dear friend, by working hard for hoggish happiness. Through bhakti yoga, worldly life transcend and learn to taste divine love's endless bliss. Hare Krishna. Thanks for visiting us. Huh? Well, that's a rough translation of 551. Yes, yeah, you know that? Huh? But you've been here before, right?
I've come to memorize once a week one verse.
Yeah. Oh, I've been corresponding with you. So it's been many weeks. You have all hundreds of verses now. Okay, are you going to be visit us again? Or? Okay, we'll do some verses. Hari Baba. All right. Don't waste this precious human life, dear friend, by working hard for Hari's happiness. Through bhakti yoga, worldly life transcend and learn to taste divine love's endless bliss. And we better hurry to the kirtan because it's late. Sorry.